So, Tuck, you mentioned when you were playing the Cubs before, but like, obviously a lot of day games kind of stink in general, but unless you're getting to a routine, but like as an away player, does that make it easier when you're playing at Wrigley when you're like, oh shit, there's going to be 45,000 people here on a Tuesday afternoon? Like, this is a little bit better than playing in front of 10,000 on a Tuesday. Like, is that like a topic of conversation as an away guy going into Wrigley, especially however many times a year?
Oh, it comes up for sure. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of nice to play in that environment, especially as a visiting player when you're coming in. You have a bunch of day games. You may be coming off a trip where, for whatever reason, you had a night getaway or a long flight, even if after a day getaway. It gives you like a little bit of a boost energy-wise to come in and play in front of those people. If you're a little bit tired or whatever, it kind of gets you past that feeling of being worn out or whatnot. But it's definitely talked about. It was talked about a lot, good and bad,
Right.
But for sure, it was talked about, no doubt.
Hap, you guys have always said like it's nice playing day games because you can actually have like you can go out to dinner, you can do other things where anywhere else your day is over at 12 o'clock basically.
It's the best. Day games are the best. You can have a normal life. You can go to eat. You can enjoy the city, and it's a lot easier to have day games on the home side with everything that we have in the home clubhouse and the locker room and the training room, the hydro and everything that it is like. You need to get in the sauna, you need to get the steam, you need to get whatever you do to get your day rolling. Like it's a lot easier than the visiting side. That's not great.
When coming in, especially with the old clubhouse playing day games,
old one, yeah.
God, it was terrible. It was so hard to get ready. You had like a hot tub and a half, and that was it.
Yeah, probably 8-Ball probably making you like hot dogs for breakfast over there.
Grabbing McDonald's egg McMuffins and hash browns.
8-Ball, wow.
Tuck,
what a beauty.
You talk to me about switch hitting? You hit left-handed for a couple. Are you still hitting only lefty, or did you start hitting righty again?
Last year I went back to it, and then in 21 I just left-hand is my natural side, and in 21 I went to solely hitting left-handed, and then going into Detroit I went back to switch hitting, thinking that it would be good, maybe get some more at bats or whatnot. Didn't end up working out for whatever reason. And I felt some things in my swing that I don't know if it were like subconsciously or whatnot. But I felt like doing some things left on left put me in a better spot just across the board. Like directionally, path-wise, whatnot, everything. It kind of just put me in a better spot. And when I went back to switch hitting, it was almost like I felt like I maybe neglected those feels or those things just because I was trying to maintain two swings. And going into the off season, I was like, you know what? For me, like I did the left on left. I felt good. I felt confident and comfortable and felt like I had like a pretty good amount of success. And then went back to switch hitting and then felt like I lost a little bit in terms of just my left-handed swing in general, just from a feel standpoint and a path standpoint. So that I'm excited. I'm going back to just hitting left-handed, and I'm excited about that.
Ooh, was that a topic during recruiting? Sorry, Dakota. Like, was that not recruiting, but like free agency? Did they add, like, was that a thing where it's like, hey, I'm only going to hit lefty or I'm going to be a switch hitter?
If they asked, I was honest with them.
Sure.
But I didn't bring it up necessarily. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I had a really good conversation with AJ around the trade deadline in Detroit last year, and then kind of after and towards the end of the year when it was clear like what the next steps for me were, and again I would completely fine with that. And it makes sense. I've always been a better left-handed hitter, even when I'm switch hitting. I'm naturally left-handed, and the way he explained it to me was the first time that I'd heard it that way, and it made a lot of sense to me. He said, I don't think somebody's going to sign you solely because you're a switch hitter, and I think you'll always be paired with a right-handed hitting catcher. And so for me, the way that I took that or understood that was the let's see, the badass lefties that you're going to face, it's going to be a predominantly right-handed hitting lineup, regardless of who the guy is or who in what position they play. And so in those moments, the right-handed hitting catcher most likely is going to play. And I'm not going to play over the predominantly right or the strictly right-handed hitting catcher because I switch hit. And there was like a light bulb moment for me where it was like, left-handed is my natural side. I need to put my best foot forward hitting on my natural side, knowing that it makes me feel certain things a certain way that keeps me crisper and cleaner throughout the entirety of the year versus trying to maintain two swings.
How long had it been since you faced a lefty hitting lefty when you decided to switch? Years, probably.
Years, man.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
It just, I'll take left. I would take left-handed, left on left BP in those years where I was still switch hitting, just to feel certain things. But in a game, I can honestly not tell you the last time it was prior to that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Riz used to talk about left on left BP, and he would have Hadavi, who you've probably talked to by now. He would have Tommy come and throw, because Tommy pitched to the big leagues. So Tommy has this like natural run on his ball and pretty decent life, even though he can't pick his arm up for 3 days after he throws BP. But Riz would make him come out on the field and throw him left on left BP because he said it would lock him in and create some different feelings for him. And I was shocked when you was like early in 21, we played you guys and lefty comes in and like what? And you hit left on left. And I think you singled to the right side or something, but you had success doing it. And I was like, damn, because I was thinking about myself and I was like, I think I would feel like the ball's coming from behind me, but I was super impressed that you stuck to it all year and were able to do that. It was pretty cool to see, especially for a switch hitter who's like at points in my career thought about like, I don't know, this guy's not a great matchup for me right-handed. Like, what if I did go left up?
Right. It was one of those things, man, like in the minor leagues, I wanted to give it up. Like it was a long time coming. So it wasn't like I've sucked right-handed for like a month, so I want to give it up. No, it was like something that, I mean, hell, I remember having a conversation with our hitting coordinator in AA talking about it. Like, hey, dude, like it's time. Like I need to just focus on hitting left-handed. And obviously I didn't do it until then, but it was, like I said, something that I felt like just made me a better overall hitter. Just focusing on hitting left-handed and I'm happy with it. I'm glad that I'm going back to just hitting left-handed.
All right. Last thing before we let you go, I want to know, you just did this with Detroit. You just went to a new team, new organization, new pitching staff. From the catching side, you come to a new team, new organization. What are the things that you do during spring training? Is it like a million conversations with pitching staff? We have just so you know, we have a staff. We have a pitching coach. We have Hadabi, but those pitchers get 85 bodies to help them get hitters out. We have so many humans over there. So
how many do
you
hitters
talk to the
have?
staff?
How many do you have, Ian?
We got
Not
like two
that many.
guys. We got nobody. We got a couple dudes flipping
Yeah,
balls,
right.
a couple flippers. Is that so? What's the thing that like this spring you're gonna do to get to know the staff? Like, what are your keys to that?
For me, and I said it earlier when I was talking to a couple of media people, where I think it's a lot of things begin with just having like random conversations, you know, like trying to get to know like how a guy ticks, right? Because I think that part of our job as catchers is to be part psychologist as well. So like when I go to the mound, like I'm going to talk to Kyle Hendricks. I'm sure of this. I don't know this, but I'm 99.9% sure that I'm going to talk to Kyle Hendricks different than I'm going to talk to Marcus Stroman. I'm going to talk different to Marcus Stroman than I'm going to talk to Justin Steele. And like and I think as catchers, you have to know that. And I think that stuff starts in just getting to know like how a guy's wired. Like, what does he like to hear? Does he like patted on the back when things are starting to go a little sideways? Or does he want me to like go out there and like jump his ass and like try to get him locked in? Like what gets a guy locked in? So I think it starts with those conversations in the lunchroom, in the weight room, whatever the cases are. And then like into the bullpens and stuff, I really like to talk through bullpens. I think it's important from a catcher standpoint, just to understand like what a guy's working on, like with a certain pitch, right? So if a guy going specifically when he goes to his breaking ball in the bullpen or on the side, is he working on throwing strike breaking balls a day? And if he's throwing strike breaking balls, like where do I need to set up, and what does he like to see from a target standpoint? Or the opposite, is he working on like punch out swing and miss breaking balls, and where do I need to set up, and what does he like to see? And then talk through it that way. And then I think conversations along the lines of like, hey man, game on the line, 3-2 count, bases loaded, doesn't matter the hitter, like what's your best pitch, what are you going to? Because I think a lot of times pitchers, if there's some indecisiveness, sometimes they'll lead toward they will lean toward the scouting report versus just going with what they do the best. We had a pitching coach in Cincinnati, Derek Johnson, for the longest time, who I love, and I still talk to him to this day quite often, actually, where one of the first things he said when he came over was, I'm not here to make you guys do anything differently. I just want you guys to be great at what you're good at. And if I can get you to be great at what you're good at, I'll take my chances with everybody. Because at the end of the day, man, like hitting's so hard. And I think pitchers lose sight of that sometimes, where they try to be too perfect, or they try to just maybe recreate something, or try to be somebody that they're not. Where at the end of the day, if you look at it as simple as, as a pitcher, what you're throwing, and the hitter has to be prepared for 3 or 4 different pitches in multiple locations. I think pitching is as simple as that at times, where if you do what you're good at, and even if the hitter does what he's good at, I'll take my chances from a pitching standpoint that you're going to get the guy versus the alternative. So I think a lot of those conversations, like I said, they happen just when you're not expecting to have like a get to know you type conversation that's going to affect you down the line during the season. But for me, I try to knock them out all the time. I try to talk to as many guys as I can. I'll talk to Jan a lot. I'll talk to our other catchers. Maybe it's a double A invite guy that's coming over that's caught a double A prospect that potentially could be in our bullpen or in our rotation. Like, hey man, you've caught this guy a lot coming up through the minor leagues. What have you seen? Or when he's going poorly, like what's going on? What's he doing? Just trying to get as much. I've always been a guy where it's like, give me as much information as possible and let me filter it out. Let me figure out what I like, what works for me. But over time, like it's gotten smaller and smaller, the amount. I know what I need now versus when I was a little bit younger. But it's a bunch of conversation, man. But a lot of it, like I said, happens when you're not talking about baseball, and you get a read on a guy and what he likes to do, and then you can the baseball conversations for me are a lot shorter.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel like that's a really good point, real quick, just about, like you said, like with pitchers, like what they do great. Like, okay, there's a lefty at the plate, Hendricks on the mound. This guy hammers changeup, but does he hammer Kyle Hendricks changeup? Probably not.
That's the thing. And a lot of guys, I think, get wrapped up in that. It's like, well, this guy kills sliders. Well, you have top 1% of the 1% sliders in the game. Like, you're going to throw it.
Exactly.
You have to.
Yeah.
Like, if we go down with your changeup and it's far and away your third best pitch, but the guy doesn't hit changeups, but you threw it dick high down the middle, like it's hard to like swallow that, right? But if you get beat, if Kyle Hendricks gets beat on a changeup to a guy hits a walk-off homer on a changeup that's executed, like I mean, unfortunately, it is what it is. You know what I mean? So it's I could talk about catching, game call, and all that shit for hours, man.
But I know what you mean. Like, guys just get so caught up in the like scouting reports of like, oh, he struggles with this. It's like, well, maybe that's not a good pitch for this guy. Like, don't throw it, because if he just throws a spinner, still gonna hit a home run. Like, they're good hitters no matter what, even if they struggle with that pitch.
I think catchers get wrapped up in that, myself included, where you, in a way, you cover your ass, right? Like, well, the scouting report said we need to flood the zone with changeups with this guy, but it's our fourth best pitch. But if I call a changeup and we end up getting beat, at least I have that in my back pocket. Well, that was the best pitch to throw the guy. Yeah. And you lose sight of kind of like playing with your eyes or seeing what you see, really, and just feeling your way through the game. I think there's a fine line between that. I think you have to, especially if you've been around for a while and you have history with guys, whether it be at the plate or whether it be behind the plate, you have to kind of trust your gut and trust your eyes too.
For sure.
As well as the scouting report.
One more quick thing. Do you have any tips for Ian how to play with a new gold patch on his glove, since you have multiple?
It's heavy, bro. You gotta make sure you break it out in spring training. Don't expect the opening day to pull it out and use it. You got to get used to that. It weighs your hand down a little bit. Timing is a little bit different.
That gold patch is nice. That thing looks
Hell
good.
yeah, it is. I got asked. I got two good stories. So to the last thing I'll say about the pitch calling thing, I have a Michael Lorenzen who Shorty will play with. I owe him a lot about from now knowing the understanding of what it's like to be like almost a psychologist behind the plate. We were at Wrigley in like 15 or 16. I'd caught him a little bit in the minor leagues, and I'll be the first to tell you, like, the best way that I respond to coaching is when I suck, tell me I suck. Like, I don't want you to sugarcoat it. I don't want you to pat me, like, please. Like, that's the way that I'm going to get better. I'm going to get through like a shitty spot. And so I go out to the mound, and before he even says anything, like, I like lit into him and like, dude, like, come on, we gotta lock it in, whatever. And he looked me dead in the face. He said, "Whose team are you on?" I'm like, well, fuck, like, I never thought of it like that. Because clearly, like, I want the best for him and I want him to succeed. And I was just speaking to him the way that I would like a coach to speak to me in a time like this. And that really like made me think, like, wait a minute, like, it doesn't, all guys don't respond to certain things a certain way. Like, it's counterproductive, right? And so like I told him that before we both kind of went our separate ways in Cincinnati. I owe him a lot for that. So I thought that was a cool little nugget that it happened at Wrigley that kind of like changed my career around a little bit.
That's one of those big things you find out in spring training. Like, you find out the guys you can kind of like mess with, and like the guys you got to get on, and the guys you kind of got to go out there and be like, hey man, it's all right. Like, you're doing fine. Like, it's just different with each person.
No doubt. And that's what kind of like made me think about the psychology side of it. Like, I'd never thought of it that way until that moment at Wrigley, which I thought was really cool. So the other story, it's not worth time. So we're good.
And Tuck's a big hangout guy too. So that's where a lot of good conversations also come from.
No doubt.
Are you a room beers guy? What's your hangout?
Give me some room beers, man. Give me some room beers.
Did you meet Danny Mueller yet? Did you go to Wrigley?
I didn't go to Wrigley. I've exchanged texts with him, but I haven't met him.
Room beers.
You're a wine
Big
guy, I
fan
see
of
that, which I'm a big wine guy as well. So.
Yeah, wine guy. Danny's getting into wine too. We'll have plenty of bottles floating around. Stroman's always bringing the good wine too.
He's
rich.
Nick Frangella walked me around. I think that's how you say his last name. Unfortunately, if I'm wrong, I apologize.
Yeah.
But he took me around everywhere during my physical and stuff, and he was just kind of giving me the rundown on what guys like to drink and what certain guys like to do. So it appears like we got a lot of wine guys, which I think I'll fit in pretty good then.
Yeah, we're gonna be good. Hey, thanks for coming on. I can't wait to get out to spring and play some golf. We're gonna be
Me too, man. I'm excited.
It quite.
I just need like,
but let's make sure all the bullpens in the morning, all the bullpens early.
No doubt.
Let's get you out of there. Let's get you to the golf course.
I appreciate that very much. And you're gonna need me to give me like 4 aside.
Yep. That's a lot. Maybe 1.
Really, really appreciate you coming on, Tuck. I know it was really hard to get you on. We just had to have another guy, reach out, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Certain guys they think alike, and they kind of do things for one another when we get to a certain spot.
Yeah, just a couple of teammates.
I love you, Shorty. You're the best.
Yeah.
Hey, talk to me about the Jets real quick. You don't have to put this on the podcast.
I'm actually muted right now. I don't. Hey, come on.
Hey, just ask me about the Colts. It's a dumpster
That's what I'm
fire.
saying. Yeah, I know. You know what, dude? It's just the same shit. It hurts. It just hurts.
I'm about to renounce my fandom of the Colts, so I might become a Jets fan.
It was funny because me, you, and Foles were talking every week. We were just like one thing after another. Then when Breece Hall got hurt because he was on your fantasy team, it was just like, oh,
everything went downhill.
Oh
that.
no.
Well, one of you two is probably getting Derek Carr, so.
I hope it's not. The Colts do not need another retread quarterback.
They probably will.
I am in no position to talk about not wanting a quarterback. So
Tom Brady's going to go. He's going to be a Jet next year.
I would literally nope. I'd be a Colts fan.
You don't want Tom Brady?
No.
Come on.
No,
wow.
You don't want the best quarterback to ever play the game.
He hates Tom Brady more than any athlete.
That's last year when
you
we
would
were
welcome him with open arms, Shorty.
I don't know if it was 21 or last year we did football jerseys, and Robbie Grossman was like really trying to make me wear all TB12 stuff. And I was just like, I'm not doing it. I am not getting on that plane with that on me.
I love it. No, I love it. I appreciate you boys for having me. Let's do it again.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. That was awesome.
You bet. Ian, I'll see you at CubsCon.
Yeah, I'll see you in a week.
Sounds
It's gonna
good,
be
man.
fucking freezing.
Can't wait.
Ian, you're gonna love him. He's awesome, dude.
That's what I mean. Like what he was saying about pitchers, like it's so true. Like all he was saying about like how you have to treat different guys and like that.
Bro, it's crazy because
Crazy.
hitting goes the same way too, where like Trout knows that he can't or doesn't swing well at up pitches or doesn't hit well and up in the zone. And I think a few years ago he tried to combat it, and his swing got not bad. I can't say it. Mike Trout was a bad
But
swing.
for
like,
him, it's like, 900 OPS. He's grinding.
no, right. But like he came out and said, he's like, yeah, dude, he was like, I worried about that pitch. And like, he's like, now
Yeah.
I'm just like, fuck it. I'm not swinging. Or if I get to 2 strikes, I'm going to
Correct.
try to foul it off somehow. You have to throw that in that perfect little area every time.
He got disciplined enough to say, if you don't make 3 pitches perfectly at the top of the zone, you're not going to get
So
me out.
I had a hitting coach reach out to me like 2 or 3 days ago, and you were just kind of talking. He's a new guy and talking about like what I do well or whatever. Or he was like, hey, what do you think about on up pitches or 4 seams up? And I was just like, listen, man, like I try my hardest not to swing at him. And if I do like until 2 strikes, and he goes, oh, well, that checks out because it says here, like you literally don't swing at him. Like, yeah, the fuck would I? Like, I don't know many people who hit 4 seams up in the zone very well.
Dakota, I want to ask you a question.
What do you got for me there, big guy?
After you heard him talk about catching and game calling and talking to guys,
Yes.
would you throw to Tucker Barnhart?
Yeah, absolutely. He knows way more than I do. Tell you what he would never do then is
he seems
based on what he said about always throwing your bet. I would never throw a slider. I'd throw 4 seams up and change ups down, and that's all I'd ever throw. And I love that.
I thought that was really interesting.
No, he simplifies it.
Yeah.
Because nowadays everything's so analytical and so like, well, they struggle on this pitch and they're hitting this on this. Like, Ian, you don't like fastballs up. But do you hit changeups well, lefty? What don't you hit well? Back foot sliders? No one hits back foot sliders.
Yeah, high heaters, lefty.
That's a high heater is a harder one. Like, say this guy doesn't hit high fastballs well, okay, but he missed the fastball.
I will chase the slider down. I will also chase the slider down.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, say like,
down.
oh, you don't hit sliders back foot well, O2. Okay, but he calls it for me, and I throw a spinner right at your top of your knees. It's 450 feet. Like it depends on the pitcher. Like I always look at it the same way he does. Like, beat my best pitch. There's nothing more annoying than getting beat on like your 3rd pitch. Cause then it's like, why did I throw that? That pitch sucks. You know what I mean? Like Zack doesn't love sliders.
Yes.
So if I hang him a slider though, he could still hit a slider. He's not an idiot. Right,
I thought it was really cool to hear how much he enjoys talking about pitching, game call, like all that stuff. Like he seems. Zack, can you confirm he just loves talking about it?
This dude is still muted.
Dude, what are we doing? Fix
Unplugged. His mic's definitely like unplugged.
Dude, let's relax. Come on, dude. Let's relax.
Can we talk about Zack's position right now? Zack is like laying down on the couch.
Zack mailed in this podcast 48 hours ago.
Dude, come on.
Anyway,
Anyway,
got Barnhart as a guest. He was like, I'm out of this fucking episode.
yes, Tucker is the perfect example of that. And you can just tell, like, watching him catch he's always upbeat. You can always, like, he'll block a ball and immediately ask for a new one. It's not like, it's just very, he keeps the game moving. He's very into the game. Where I'm not saying, guys aren't into it, but he just looks like he wants to be back there and he enjoys catching, and then he's always making sure that we're having a team dinner. He's always making sure that younger guys who aren't there all the time feeling included. He's a homie. Like, he is a perfect team guy. And like, when I saw that he was going to you guys, I was like, dude, that's going to be awesome. Especially, guys who hang out a lot, teams that have close camaraderie. Like he's perfect for that.
Him and Jan are going to get along really, really well.
Yeah.
The best catchers are the ones that almost talk too much, where you're almost like annoyed, because then at least like they're trying to learn about their pitchers. Like if they ask you to, like in spring training, you need to learn everything about them. Like he needs to know how to handle Marcus Stroman in certain situations, like what he wants to throw, how he goes out and talks to him at a mound visit. Like that stuff's important when you get into the season. And I feel like, I mean, I guess I don't know because I haven't talked to a billion catchers, but I feel like not all catchers think the way he thought, like just with like the mindset and all that.
No, I mean, there's a reason why
been a long-
he's played for so long, and there's a
Yeah, he's
reason
been around a
why.
long time.
Yeah, I think this is what I mean. This is his second year of free agency, right? I mean, he's played seven.
I think it's his 7th season.
Yeah. All right,
No,
so-
he signed an extension in there somewhere, right?
Oh yeah, you might be right. I think he did. He's rich.
He signed an extension with the Red Legs.
He's
Yeah.
technically, I don't have service time.
did-
or something.
9 years.
Yeah,
9 years.
Made his
Parts
debut.
This is his 9th year.
10th year coming up.
This will be his 10th, but he debuted in 14 and played in 21 games. So service time wise, this is probably his 9th, but 10th season.
No, and like, there's just something to be said for those type of guys. Like, it's hard to play, obviously, for like you would know, like you've gone through it before. Like in 19, you were going through it. Like it's hard to, especially at such a demanding position. Like you have to be able to control a game. You have to be able to talk to guys. You have to be a leader. And everything that I've saw, I mean, again, we didn't play very much last year, but my time on the taxi squad for basically every other week, and hanging out with him, like you could just tell, like he wants to be there. He wants guys to get better. He is having those right conversations, and he's just, no matter what, like he had a tough year last year for the like hitting wise, and you really couldn't tell when he was at the field. And I think that is,
It's
it's
huge.
way easier said than done, but especially for a catcher and an older guy to set that example. I think it goes a long way.
Let's give the people the Sloan screen time before we sign it off. Sloan screen time brought to you by Sloan. One of the nice submissions for the Kendra Scott thing put a nice Sloan flusher in there. It was a great touch. If you're looking for automated faucets, automated flushers, Sloan Valve, they're your people. Sloan Stadium, Mesa, coming soon. Cubbies will be there any minute. Guys, times?
Let me see.
453.
Mine might be a little high because I've been dialing into this Brian Kohlberger case. The Idaho,
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. What is it?
546.
Ew.
Nobody loves looking up like random like legal
That's
cases than Zack.
That's not random.
I have never heard. I have no clue what you're talking about. I don't care to know.
You-
So let's
you
let's
haven't- you
get
didn't
to
hear-
Tom's time. I don't know.
You haven't heard about the Idaho killings? Come
No.
on, man. Read a book.
Where'd you
Tom.
see it on Twitter?
No,
Or in a book.
Newspaper.
It's a book.
Newspaper.
Fucking idiot.
Telling him to read a book about current events is very funny. Objective.
That's I was like, where'd you read it? Like,
There's no book about it available yet.
Tom,
Good last month. 510. Mine's 510.
that's a good day, Tom.
Yeah.
that is a good day.
That's another statement of you belittling Tom, and I'm not here for it. I'm not
I don't
I'm
feel
not here for it.
I don't
You
feel
all right over there?
No.
How is
Grinding
that
my gears.
belittled?
Grinding my gears.
I had 348.
2023 Zach's an angry elf. I don't like
Yeah, man. All right.
Well, now I'm an elf. Now you're making fun of me because I'm short. I'm an elf.
it. You have a Christmas tree back there still, and it's January 3rd.
Zach,
Let's clean it up.
how's your
Christmas
swing
shirt.
feeling? How's your swing? How's your baseball swing? You been swinging it?
Yeah, I have been. It's not bad.
You rake. Your hands don't sleep.
No, that is true.